Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Our first story today comes to us from Yellow Triangle. Summer and office dress code. Let's jump right in. Summer is here and temperatures are approaching 85 Fahrenheit on the hotter days. I'm located in Northern Europe, which means that this crap is hot for us. And to top it off, the humidity is off the charts. Leave a cold beverage out on the table for a minute or two, and it is condensing as hard as I am sweating, puddles underneath and all. We don't have air conditioning at my office and probably never will have. When the weather gets like this, the office turns into a steam sauna, or at least a close approximation. And there is nothing we can do about it. We survive it the best we can by wearing less clothes. At normal temperatures, we wear the typical professional garb, but when the temperature rises, it is typically light dresses and skirts for women and shorts for men. The unspoken rule was just to keep the designs professional, no Bermuda shorts, bikinis, or clothes with eye-searing colors. You know, normal common sense. However, this year shorts are suddenly a problem. If you have never experienced the glory of arbitrary rule changes before, then I envy you. With that bit of context, summer legs will get on with the malicious compliance. What happened is, we got a new manager during the start of the year, and apparently this new manager has new manager ideas. Without warning, a couple of days into steam sauna at work season, the new manager decided that shorts were unprofessional. And in short order, he ordered the men in the office to go back to wearing heat-stroke-inducing long pants. No meetings, no talking with the people in the office first, no different alternative, just here are your new guidelines, have a nice day kind of situation. Sent out over email, of course, shortly before the end of day. The new rules were to take effect immediately. Now, I was none too pleased by this, and come the next day, I found out that neither were the rest of the men in the office. Mostly because each and every man went from being uncomfortably hot to now sporting his own little steam oven, and in the privacy of his pants, steaming a 2 buns and 2 eggs combo. Grumbles were had all around. It should be said that when I think something is unfair, I can get a bit confrontational, and I won't take "just because" as a good enough explanation. Basically, I don't play nice with arbitrary rules. As such, during the first day after the rule change, I found a moment to press the new manager for the real explanation. As such things have a tendency to do, after a bit of back and forth, I was finally presented with his reason. Shorts are unprofessional because no one wants to look at hairy man legs. I honestly didn't know what to say to that at first, because how do you argue against stupid? Stupefied was most fitting way to describe my state of mind after that bomb. As I went on with the rest of the day, I tried to figure out how to get this insane rule changed, because I sure as heck was not going to suffer more than necessary during the whole of summer. I went to my buddy to get his take on it, and to no surprise, he agreed with my take. The new manager was just power tripping, or similarly changing rules for no good reason. Now the question became how to get under his skin and pull him down a peg or two. If you have never dealt with the type of person the new manager is, then I can tell you that showing disrespect to their authority is the best way to get under their skin, and pointing out their stupidity publicly is the easiest way to enact change. Of course, with the additional added benefit of painting a target on your own back. After a good half hour, my buddy had helped me cobble a plan together, and off I went to set it into motion. First, I got confirmation on the reason for no shorts. Basically had new manager confirm over email that shorts were not allowed and unprofessional because of hairy man legs. Then that evening, I set to it at home, getting ready for wearing shorts to work the next day. When the next day came around, I peacocked into the office wearing shorts. In no time at all, the new manager was on my case, and in typical new manager style, he gave me a dress down in front of my coworkers. While he did this, I was fighting to not let a grin surface on my face. I think that humans are amazing in many different ways. One of which is that we don't always pay all that much attention to the details of mundane things, and as such, can gloss over them with ease. But once your attention has been drawn to something, you basically can't ignore it or unsee it. After new manager was done stroking his ego, I broke. I could not hold in my smile anymore. With the biggest grin on my face, I pointed to my legs and said, "But I shaved my legs." I think that broke the new manager for a full 10 seconds. He just kinda stood there taking it all in, really looking at my legs, then looking back and forth between my legs and face a couple of times. You could see him trying really hard to make sense of what happened, while my coworkers snickered in the gallery. After he kinda got his bearing again, I pointed out that the problem with shorts were hairy man legs, and as they were no longer hairy, shorts should no longer be a problem. I wish I could tell you that it devolved into an epic meltdown, that the new manager was so far up his own butt that he was immune to reason and would ignore his own previous statement about professional wear and shorts. That the power battle in the office devolved into a battle for who would get the other fired. That didn't happen. Instead, after a short while, still surrounded by the majority of the office staff, the new manager declared that the men could go back to how it used to be. I haven't suffered any retaliation as of yet, and it seems that it is not going to happen, which is good. It is also the gift that keeps on giving, because I keep seeing new manager's eyes darting down to my manly shaved legs every now and again when I interact with him. I find it absolutely hilarious, and I am honestly considering keeping them shaved until it stops demanding his attention. I have acquired a new nickname in the office, which I guess is all in good fun. Many of my coworkers have taken it upon themselves to call me by Summer Legs. Oh, OP, way to shick it to him. He's what one might call a ne'er-do-well. It was definitely a hairy situation averted. Some might even call it a close shave. Okay, I'm going to let this one go without much bickering, but you all have to agree with me that the results that OP got were the best a man can get. Do me a quick favor and take a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're actually not subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. This next story comes to us from Kesser Drak. Too hot for pants, too professional for shorts. Let's jump right in. I was reminded of this story from my dad by the previous story about office dress codes. That was something my father did when he was in high school in the 70s. In his school's machine shop class, it was blistering hot between the lack of ventilation, summer heat, student bodies, and running machines. A friend of his showed up to class one day in shorts and got suspended for it. Shorts were allowed in the rest of the school, so the students were surprised and tried to argue the point. The reason given was not because it was considered a safety concern of any kind, but because students were required to wear professional clothing when in the machine shop. My dad didn't like that his buddy got suspended for such an arbitrary reason, and crap disturbing foolish authority runs in the family. So he concocted a plan with the other boys in his class and as many of the other boys in the school as he could. After class that day, they all went to the local costume shop and rented out every kilt the store had. This was enough for every guy in his class plus a few others, as the town had a fairly large contingent of residents with a Scottish ancestry. When they showed up to class the next day, the machine shop teacher blew a fuse and brought the principal to the class because there wouldn't be enough room for all of them in the office. They'd of course been wearing the kilts all day, so everyone knew something was up. And when the word got around that the principal was going to the machine shop, a few other teachers stopped by, including my grandfather, the popular music teacher, who also snubbed his nose at foolish authority, and was part of the reason my dad was able to get away with this. The principal demanded an explanation of why they had all shown to class in skirts. My father took the lead and replied that, "They aren't skirts, they're kilts, sir." "Why are you wearing them?" the sweating principal asked. "As you can tell, Mr. Principal, it's very hot in this classroom, and as you also know, my friend got suspended for wearing shorts yesterday because he was required to wear professional clothing when in the machine shop. It wasn't specified which country's professional clothing, so we went with Scotland." The teachers watching had a good laugh at this, the students struggled or failed to keep grins hidden, and the principal and machine teacher turned red. Whether the heat, embarrassment, or rage was unclear. After that, students were allowed to wear shorts in the machine shop. Okay, I would have agreed with the rule if it was based completely on safety, because shorts have no place in a machine shop, really. I've gotta ask though, do you guys think this story would have been a lot better if OP's grandfather showed up in their own kilt with a set of bagpipes to see what was going on? This next story comes to us from Mace Valve. Want to rely on broken online booking software? Okay, have fun with the fallout. Let's jump right in. Hello r/MaliciousCompliance posted this yesterday on the Tales from Tech Support Reddit and was told to post this here. I have a fun story from my old job working at a campgrounds office. A little background info. This happened about 6 years ago in the northeastern part of the US. I worked in the office of a well-known family campground. Think Fort Wilderness, but up north. We had all sorts of family activities, hay rides, miniature golf, bingo, live music, and much more. My sole job was to keep track of all the bookings and reservations for the year. We had 450 plus seasonal and night-to-night campsites, plus another 30 or so tent sites. It was a lot to keep track of. Thankfully, we had a very robust but old booking program. I'm not sure how old the software was, however, I know the company who made it went out of business in 2001. And I once found an envelope with a floppy disk in it that said Reservation Software Update 1998. So yeah, very old. Anyways, for a piece of software that seemed very antiquated, it had a lot of extra tools and features. In theory, if you had it set up right, and if it worked, you could run the whole campground off it. Everything from online booking to payments, it could do it all in theory. However, no matter what myself or the owner did, we just could not get these features to work properly. The software would either allow double bookings, keep these issues in mind for later, fail to communicate with our server, or just outright crash. So after a few attempts, we gave up and just used the main booking and reservation feature. Fast forward a year or so, the original owner wants to downsize to a smaller campground and retire. So he puts the business up for sale and moves down south. Enter the new owner, or AH for short. As soon as I met AH, I knew deep down inside that he was trouble. AH came from money. His father and grandfather both ran very successful motel and hotel businesses. And from what I understood, they wanted AH to do the same. AH wasted no time in pissing off the other staff. He had a very "I'm right, you're wrong" mindset. And AH could not go 5 minutes without reminding you that he was the owner. In the matter of 2 months, all but 4 of the original staff quit. It was clear that AH had no passion for the place. He only had one thing on his mind: money. Our rates went from $20-ish a night to over $50, and he got rid of almost all campground activities. He scrapped the hayride tractor, tore down the outdoor stage, sold off the arcade, threw out the bingo equipment, and was looking into filling in the pool. He was delusional. It wasn't uncommon for him to go on hour-long rants about he knew what he was doing. And if people for some reason didn't like how he was running the campground, they could leave, with no refund of course. Eventually, AH found out about the booking software's extra functions. He reveled at the idea of the whole booking process being automated and fully online, so he didn't have to interact with the public. I tried to explain to him multiple times that it was a horrible idea. I brought up the past issues we had, and how the company was no longer around to support the software. If he really wanted to do that, he would need to get new software. AH didn't listen. He was too focused on bringing down staffing costs. Every time I brought it up, he just accused me of trying to save my job, and said I need to just step aside and let him take care of things from now on. So I did. I went from handling all of the campground booking to just running the camp store. Every time the phone rang, I just let it go to our 10-minute long recording rant about how to book online. The outcome was as expected. Sites got double booked, payments weren't going through, families that booked a year in advance lost their reservations, etc. It was a mess. It all came to a head on 4th of July weekend. Until then, if the software double booked a site, would just tell the people who decided to stay to go to another open site. But he couldn't do that on this weekend. Keep in mind, we only had about 450 campsites. Over 570 campers showed up. The booking software had in some cases triple booked campsites. People were pissed. got yelled at so many times that weekend. Police were called, fights broke out over campsites, RVs got damaged. At one point, got punched by a rightfully angry father when he refused to give a refund. By the end of the weekend, the campground's reputation was done for. Word had gotten out about the new owner and how bad the campground had gotten. I left shortly after. The campground sputtered on for about another year. Turns out was bad with money and had run up about $1 million in debt. His father ended up having to bail him out of bankruptcy. The physical campground was wrecked, aside from what got rid of. He also did no maintenance during his 2 years running the place. Trees and shrubs were overgrown. The grass was almost never cut. The bathrooms were a complete write-off, and the once crystal clear pool had cattails growing in it. The campground went up for auction during COVID. I'm not sure what the new owners have planned for it. As far as goes, what I hear from the staff that stayed till the end was that his dad was pissed. Turns out, this was the third business had run into the ground. I don't know what the first two were. From what I can tell, got booted out by his father and now works at a Tractor Supply. What kind of a business model is that? Let's remove everything that makes this place fun and then charge more people to come here. Everybody's not gonna care. They're still gonna give me all their money, right? That's how business works. Unfortunately, things like this happen quite frequently where an entitled parent will give their child something thinking that it'll keep them busy and they'll be able to have something to do. Meanwhile, child runs that thing completely into the ground. This was the third time this guy did it though, which is absolutely crazy, and I'm glad the parents finally caught on and did something about it. Check out all 3 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.